Disturbing allegations this morning about Woody Allen, his now adult stepdaughter, Dylan Farrow, telling fully for the first time her story. She alleges that he sexually assaulted her when she was just 7 years old in the early 1990s. This is not entirely a news story. It was investigated in the early 90s, and Allen was not charged. But this is the first time we've heard her account of what happened. The details are horrifying, and she calls out a number of stars who have worked with Allen. She asks, what if it had been your child? What if it had been you? CNN, of course, has reached out to Allen and all of the principals here for comment, but we haven't gotten a response. Joining me now to talk about this, Chief Legal Affairs anchor Dan Abrams of ABC News. He's also the co-anchor of Nightline, and he's covered this story extensively. Dan, thanks for being here.
Hey, Brian.
So, as I mentioned, the allegations have been out here before, and they've been investigated before. Yeah. What is new here?
Well, what's new is hearing it in her own words, meaning we've heard her having been interviewed. We heard certainly back in the day a videotape of her as a child, but now as an adult woman, describing in detail what she says happened is new, and in my view, no question, newsworthy.
Is it going to create weeks of coverage now, especially at Oscar time, to have these celebrities asked about her
I don't think it's going to lead to the celebrities being asked about it. I think it's going to make Woody Allen's life a little bit more difficult, in the sense that it did seem this kind of faded into the background. And people stopped talking about it.
But then the Farrows somehow brought it back with Ronan Farrow tweeting about
But a tweet is different than this letter. This letter is so detailed and so powerful that I think that wherever Woody Allen goes for the next period of months, he's going to be asked about this, he's going to be questioned about it, he's going to be challenged about it. But I think that as a news story, it's not going to fundamentally change because we've known this was her position. It's the power of the details that she's presenting that I think change this.
What do you think of the New York Times decision to publish this, partly in a Nick Kristof column and then in full on the web? Was it the right choice?
No brainer. You have to publish. And some people might say, wait a second, these are allegations that haven't been proven in court. How can you go ahead and publish this? The answer is, the legal system and journalists have two different obligations. As a journalistic matter, this is news. This is a story that had been out there. To hear for the first time in her own words what happened, what she says happened, that's news, and I think the New York Times absolutely made the right call in publishing.
Is there any legal scrutiny that a newspaper would face for publishing a letter like
this?
Well,
look, the remedy is, if you're angry, if Woody Allen says these allegations are false, he can sue. He can sue for libel. And in fact, if this were in England, for example, everyone would be saying, well, if he doesn't sue, it means he did it. Because the laws there are so much easier to sue. Here people say, oh, it's so tough to sue. But the reality is that if he says this is false and this is defamatory, he's got a remedy, and that is to file a lawsuit. I don't think it's going to happen.
Because the laws are so different here than they are in
Because
Britain.
the last thing Woody Allen wants to do is get mired in a lawsuit over this again. I mean, Woody Allen wants this to go away. And you can tell that the Farrow family wants to make sure this doesn't go away. They feel like it's something that's been forgotten unfairly.
I do wonder if it's going to start a conversation more broadly about what it is like for people who say they are victims of sexual assault and how hard it is to come forward historically.
Well, look,
this may make it a little easier.
Yeah, look, I think that will be a good and fair discussion to have about the impact of this kind of very honest statement that she says she's making. Again, Woody Allen says it's not honest, says it's not true, didn't happen, etc. But I do think that that the specificity, the fact that it's coming out now, will rejuvenate the conversation.
Let's turn to a murder mystery that was in the news again this week. It's been a television staple for years. It's the Amanda Knox case. She was reconvicted in an Italian court this week, and I'm amazed by how different the coverage is in the United States versus Europe. In Europe, it's as if everyone believes she's guilty. Here, it's as if almost everyone believes she's innocent. What's to account for that difference?
Well, look, when I was listening to BBC's coverage of this, they keep mentioning the name of the victim, Meredith Kercher, and here it's all about Amanda Knox. And I think that's one of the fundamental differences you see in the coverage. Look, I think that when you look at the evidence in this case, as I have very closely, the evidence that she and her ex-boyfriend were involved in the murder is really thin and slim. The evidence that maybe they lied about being in the house that night, well, I think that you've got a little bit of a stronger position. When I say in the house, doesn't mean they were involved at all. It means that there have been various stories presented, various accounts given about whether they were in the house, etc. They say that they've been consistent, etc. But I think that's what's led the Italian government. I think that's what's led a lot of Europeans to be more suspicious but there is a fundamental difference in the way it's been covered.
Well, this divide really shows the power of the media.
Yeah. Oh, look,
I wonder if you think ABC has ever been too sympathetic toward her, because she, of course, gave the first interview to Diane Sawyer.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think ABC's coverage, I mean, for example, I think Robin Roberts' interview most recently with Amanda Knox was fantastic. I mean, she got at what are the key questions. She asked her, what happens if you get extradited?
She also held Amanda's hand at one pivotal moment.
Yeah, but you know what? The reality is that at this point, I think that even the media can make a judgment that says, looking at the evidence, because I have looked at the evidence, and I do not think that there is a remotely compelling case for murder. If you do that, I think that you can, act accordingly. Now, I think that a lot of questions, I think Diane Sawyer in particular asked some very hard questions of Amanda Knox at the time. But look, she is an American citizen who most in this country, I think, believe was wrongly convicted. And I'm very proud of the coverage that ABC has done in the trial.
This might be a reminder for us when we're watching court cases and trials in the future that the media can have a role in shaping public opinion.
Oh, there's an enormous role. And look, and I think that on the whole, as I said a moment ago, maybe the media has gone a little too far in saying, wait a second, how could this have possibly happened? I wrote an article on abcnews.com about trying to put it into perspective a little to say, well, just so you understand, here are some issues that came up that may help you explain how this happened. Meaning,
Right.
I'm not saying that they're guilty. I'm not even saying that they were in the house that night. But I'm saying that there were inconsistencies and questions and issues that were raised that led people, at least the authorities there and some others, to say,
You're helping
It
us
all
see
makes
from the
sense.
European perspective and vice versa, and that's always good. And I recommend the article. I read it yesterday.
Oh,
Dan, thank you for being here.
Good to see you, Brian.
Thank you. Great.